To explain the argument in our article, we invite you to look closely at the two images here. We suggest that they index two very different ways of thinking about schools. The image on the left comes from a report by Teach First entitled Ethos and Culture in Schools in Challenging Circumstances, which argues that a focus on ethos could provide, quote, huge benefits for very little financial cost, and thus offers a way of improving schools even in an era of austerity. And this is one reason why the notion of school ethos has appealed to politicians and policymakers over the years. It promises that so-called failing schools might improve by copying what supposedly more successful ones do, regardless of their funding, socio-economic context or student intake. Teach First, whose report is sponsored by PricewaterhouseCoopers, recommends importing corporate approaches from the private sector, such as motivational sayings, mission statements, flags, crests, and slogans such as no excuses, alongside attention to posture and uniform. This photo presumably captures its ideals: correctly attired students, heads down, working on their own, in rows, probably in silence, while the caption advocates strong leadership. Meanwhile, the British government has recently funded projects promoting military ethos in schools, declaring in a press release that these will, quote, instil our wonderful armed forces values of hard work and discipline. The educational imaginary here is one of student deficit. Students lack discipline, application, aspiration, the right attitudes or family cultures, and the school must instil them with this. What of the image on the right? It's much less glossy and promotional. A school fence with a few saucepans and wind chimes tied on it with string. How can that compete with the shirts, ties, lanyards and blazers of the other one? We took the photo as part of our research into schools working with creative partnerships, the now defunct English Creative Learning Programme. When schools reported that creative partnerships projects improved school ethos, they referred both to the preconditions for learning, issues such as relationships, community, safety, the feel of a school, and to the more general messages a school conveys about young people's value, worth, equality and place in the world. Because these are more intangible, our article offers resources and tools to think with about ethos in these broader senses. They lead us to suggest that the image on the right symbolises something important. Most, if not all, schools now have walls and fences around them, and in some these seem not only to keep students safe, but to shut out what is seen as the deficient and messy outside world of students' home lives and cultures. So when a school improvises, turning the necessity of a fence into an opportunity for playing, learning and music making, using whatever local materials come to hand, it communicates something important. It suggests a school that is porous, open to influence, to understanding and respecting the world students bring with them into school, to co-creating learning experiences with a range of others, including children. In developing this interpretation of something that might otherwise be seen as mundane and insignificant, we draw on a wide range of intellectual resources, including post-structuralist theory and long traditions of progressive, democratic and egalitarian thinking about comprehensive schooling. We invite you to engage with our article and see if you agree that they bring richness and depth to the debate about what schools can and should do.